Hey, what up y'all? Mr. Cruz here, the hardest worker in the room, back with another video. And in today's video, we're going to be continuing our series on making a trap beat from scratch. And this time we're going to take care of bass. Let's go. All right, before we get started on our video, I do want to give a shout out to BeatStars. If you don't know already, BeatStars is an amazing platform that allows musicians like you and I to be able to turn our passion into a profit by providing a platform for us to be able to sell and monetize our music. Not only does BeatStars allow you to sell your beats to pretty much anywhere across the world, but BeatStars also has their own publishing and their own distribution. Meaning if you're a producer like me and you want to put out an instrumental lo-fi beat tape all on your own, you can do that through BeatStars, already included in their membership. I've personally been a part of BeatStars for over 3 years now, and I honestly could not be happier about how things are going. So I invite you to take a part of this opportunity and join me over on BeatStars. I'm gonna leave a link in the description. Click the link, use my code MRCRU230, and not only will you get a discount for your first month, but I will also personally give you a free consultation to anybody who signs up for BeatStars using the link in the description. All right, let's get started on our video. Okay, so as promised, we're gonna continue building our trap beat from scratch. This is part 3, so if you have not seen the other previous entries in this series, definitely go check them out. The first one, we were just doing our melody. Second one, we did our drums. Now we're going to kind of continue our drum sort of, where we're going to start on our bass. In the last video, I did mention to you guys how I like to do my bass last in terms of any kind of instrumentation that I'm doing. So we're going to change this right here. I have found an 808 that I really like, or a bass sound that I like. And let's change this up here to piano and this right here to drums. And I'm going to move my drums up to the top because I usually like to keep my drums up at the top. And let's move my 808 also to the top because that's also where I like to have my stuff. Okay, so a couple of things. When we're working with bass, you usually want to use an 808 or a sub bass. Now the difference is, I honestly don't know. I really couldn't tell you. If you put it on a test, I would definitely fail. But the important thing is I just usually go off of what sounds good. Sometimes a really deeper register or deeper octave of a bass sounds really good. Sometimes things that are a little bit higher octave and don't have so much bassiness in it, but they definitely have that kick and that punch that, you know, cuts through the mix or cuts through the beat. So in this case, I'm kind of going to go with something a little bit in between. So this is the bass sound that I found, and it's actually a patch under basses, 808s, and it's literally the first one. Honestly, I checked all of them. This is the best one. This is what it sounds like right now. Now you'll notice that it's in a very high key, or it's a very high octave. There's a reason for that. I'm going to explain to you in a second. But let's go ahead and draw our region here. So let's create a region and let's go only about halfway. We're probably not even going to need all of that, but we'll go halfway for now. So in here, here's what I'm going to do is I'm going to try my best to draw it, because that's usually how I like to do all of my melodies. I like to draw them in. I don't usually play things live. So the reason that I want to create my key or create my bass in a high octave is because it allows me to hear the harmonics a lot more clearer. When I'm playing a bass note really low, I'm getting a lot of that feel, but I might be hitting a sour note. And even though I might not notice it, somebody whose ears are keener or more tuned to that, I'm pretty much trying to say like younger people, all right, you youngins out there, they might be able to tell the difference between a key that's, you know, a couple of cents off. That's just a fancy musical term. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to play my bass at a high octave until I can get the pattern that I like, and then I'm going to transpose it, or I'm going to shift it down a whole octave until I hit that sweet spot that, you know, gives you that bass. All right, so let's go ahead and get this here. I'm just going to play. I got to make sure that I'm in D minor, just so that I can kind of see the notes that I'm hitting, which let me pull that up here. So here's another thing with Bandlab that's also really cool is they have this kind of a scale thing that scale option that they have here. So with this, what I'm going to be able to do is let me pitch it up an octave, make sure I can see the notes that I'm hitting. With this, it'll let you know whenever you're hitting a key, and if the key lights up here, that means that that key that you hit is in the scale of whatever, you know, scale you have up here. That's really good because it'll help me or prevent me from hitting any kind of off notes or any sour notes is what they're called. All right. So I'm gonna play the beat and then just kind of mess around and try to find the few keys that I'm gonna use. So right here, all right, so there we go. So what you will kind of notice there is that I'm playing the exact same notes, or pretty much anything close to the same notes that I was hitting with the melody. I usually want to do that because for me, I like to not work very hard. So if I already have a melody there, what I'm going to try to do when I do my bass is I'm going to try to hit the same notes, maybe not necessarily at the same time, but I want to hit the same notes, or I might just stick to what's called the root note. So since my scale is in D minor, that means if I hit, I'm going to change this to pitch. If I hit D and consistently hit D, theoretically, right, this is a part of music theory, it'll sound good. So if I just stick to that one note, but I'm going to be a little bit fancier here. All right. So let's go ahead and try to record this here. I'm going to go to quarter resolution, and let's see if we can get this. Ooh, I messed up that last part, so let's go ahead and get in there and fix that part. All right, there we go. And let's delete that one because I kind of hit two at the same time. Let's highlight all of them, and then I'm going to quantize it. Let's quantize it to 1/8 resolution. I think that'll be finite enough. The higher you go on this scale right here, the bigger the gaps are going to be. The lower you go, the more fine tuning that you'll be able to do with those notes. So I'm going to go about 1/8, so about halfway there. And then let's hit quantize. You also have to select the notes that you want to quantize. So here I'm going to stretch this out. Maybe 1/8 was too much. So let's go back to 1/4 and see if that works a little bit better. And let's move this one here. So now let's listen to it. All right, this one right here, we need to move over. Money, there we go. I like that, I like that. All right, so here I'm gonna continue to drag all these notes together. Not necessarily drag them together. What I mean is just, I want when one note ends, I want the other one to hit immediately. Because that hold that we put on the bass especially is gonna, you know, you want there to be bass in your song, and I don't necessarily want to not feel bass in my track. All right, so now let's listen back to it. All right, money. I like the pattern that I got and everything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight everything, and then I'm going to go down here where I'm going to pretty much pitch it down an octave. So 12 semitones is an octave. So if I go to -12, it's going to bring it down a whole octave. So move down here and then you'll see it show up. So I'm going to keep doing this until I find that sweet spot where I think it sounds good. All right, so I think that one right there sounds really good. So let's check it out. All right. I'm not gonna lie, you can probably, unless you're wearing headphones, you're not really gonna be able to hear it that well. But one of the things that we're gonna do when we get to our final video where we start mixing is we're really gonna EQ and shape that bass so that it does stand out and to give it a little bit more harmonic. So we're gonna mess around with some of the higher frequencies in that bass. But for now, right now, all I'm doing is filling out that low end space. And later on, when we get to the mixing phase, we're gonna really make that sound nice. Let me see if I move this down. Let's pitch it back up. Ooh, I kind of like that. So let me try that. So let's move these down. I think I kind of like that better. All right, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna change this up a little bit. I'm gonna drag this one down, stretch this one out, so that it's only hitting those two notes, and then on the fourth bar, it's gonna go doom, doom. Hit this one right here. All right, move these over. All right, zoom out a little bit, and then we're gonna replace this part right here as well. I just kind of like that pattern a little bit more because it's simpler. You know what I'm saying? Copy, paste right there. Just make sure that I got these hitting the same spot where they need to be. All right, so I cut this note here just a little bit short because for some reason it was bleeding into this other note, so I just cut those two short. So now that's the pattern that I got. This is the one that I like. This is the one that I'm gonna stick with. All right. Well, there you go. Super simple bass pattern. Really, I kind of just showed you most of the tricks that I use whenever I'm making a bass or whenever I'm adding bass. Another good thing to note is that it also really depends on a good quality sample. So in Bandlab, this is the best sounding bass that I've ever found in Bandlab. So this is the one that I'm going to use. The reason why I won't necessarily use one of the loops that Bandlab has, like obviously I can go in here and I can type in, 808. If I go to like loops or something, and you'll find a whole bunch. But the thing about those is that I kind of can't control, I can't have those 808s or those basses follow the same pattern that I have in my melody, the melody that I created, because obviously they didn't create my melody, I created my melody, so I know what notes I hit, and it's going to be really hard to find something in here that matches the vibe. It's going to be really hard to find something in here that matches the vibe or the feel that I'm going for with this beat, or to have an 808 that matches that. So, well, that's what I got for you guys. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Make sure you guys stay tuned for the next part, which will be coming next week, where we're going to get into arranging and laying out the pattern and building out our song or our beat. And then we're going to get into mixing. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. It's your boy, Mr. Cruz, out.